The Health Ministry said the United Arab Emirates has recorded 661 new COVID-19 cases overnight after conducting additional 37,000 tests, bringing the country's total to 34,557. State news agency WAM reported, citing the ministry, there were also 2 fatalities overnight, raising the death toll to 264. But 386 people, meanwhile, were clear of the infections, raising the number of patient recovery to 17,932. The ministry urged people to follow social distancing and other preventive measures to avoid virus transmission. China reported the highest daily increase in coronavirus cases in nearly 3 weeks on Monday, with 16 new infections discovered on May 31st, as the number of so-called imported cases jumped in southwestern Sichuan province. The National Health Commission said in a statement on Monday that all the new cases involved travelers from overseas, 11 of which were reported in Sichuan. China reported 2 confirmed cases on Monday 29th, both of which were imported. Chinese state television reported that the Sichuan cases came on a flight from abroad, and another 6 asymptomatic cases were found on the same flight. China does not count asymptomatic cases as confirmed COVID-19 infections. Confirmed coronavirus cases in Latin America have surged past 1 million, while hard-hit the United Kingdom and Russia eased lockdowns Monday despite not having their outbreaks fully under control. Governments around the world are moving to ease restrictions that have wrecked their economies, even as the number of cases tops 6.1 million and virus deaths exceed 371,000. With more than 500,000 known infections, Brazil now has the second highest caseload in the world, but its anti-lockdown president Jair Bolsonaro again defied social distancing recommendations on Sunday. Spain's prime minister said the country needed 15 more days of lockdown until June 21st to finish with the pandemic once and for all, and will ask Parliament to approve a final 2-week extension to the stay-home rule. Premier Pedro Sanchez also expressed his intense relief that the number of new cases of COVID-19 in Spain, one of the nations hardest hit by the virus, had fallen dramatically. From June 21st, a national state of emergency will end, and with it, the lockdown, allowing citizens to move freely in their regions. From July the 1st, citizens will be able to move throughout the country. Millions of people returned to work in the Philippine capital on Monday, as one of the world's strictest and longest COVID-19 lockdowns was eased to help resuscitate an economy that has been battered by the closure. Public transport, such as trains and shuttle buses, were allowed to operate in Manila, but on a limited scale, forcing commuters to wait in long queues for hours and leaving hundreds of workers stranded. With the third highest number of coronavirus cases and second highest official death toll in Southeast Asia, the Philippines also allowed the reopening of more businesses, and people can now leave home without government permits. The Thai government has set July the 1st to lift all business and activity lockdowns imposed to curb the spread of COVID-19 virus. The National Security Council said this includes inter-provincial and international travel, as well as the end of the emergency decree and curfew. As Secretary General said, the lifting of all restrictions would mean a complete reopening of the country. The government's Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration will finalize details of what business could resume and on what conditions under the third phase of relaxation this month. Occupation police shot dead an unarmed autistic Palestinian man in Jerusalem's Old City Saturday after saying they suspected he was carrying a weapon. The shooting drew broad condemnations and revived complaints alleging excessive force by Israeli security forces. The deceased man, as Iyad Halak, was 32 years old. His family said that he suffered from autism and was heading to the school for students with special needs, where he studied each day when he was shot. Libyan Prime Minister Fayez Sarraj spoke to French Foreign Minister and discussed the latest developments in his country. In an official statement, the Libyan government said the two stressed that attacks by the militia loyal to renegade Commander Khalifa Haftar on capital Tripoli must stop. General Haftar's militia struck Tripoli with rockets on Sunday, killing 5 civilians. Libya has been torn by civil war since the ouster of late ruler Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. U.S. President Donald Trump is trusted more than Democratic nominee Joe Biden to handle the economy, polls show, even with more than 40 million Americans filing jobless claims and growth stalled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Some Biden supporters fear that the vulnerability could intensify if President Trump becomes the face of an economic recovery as the country reopens after shutdowns, giving the Republican president's re-election prospects a boost when he needs it most. Biden is expected to release a large-scale recovery plan in the coming weeks. Democrats are watching closely to see if his message matches the moment, saying the party's presumptive nominee needs to ramp up criticism of the president's response to the pandemic and show leadership for moving forward. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro joined supporters protesting against Congress and the Supreme Court in Brasilia on Monday, stoking concerns of an institutional crisis in the nation that now has the world's second highest number of coronavirus cases after the US. In a live broadcast on social media, President Bolsonaro greeted fans from a helicopter flying over the area where the demonstration was held. He then landed and joined the protest wearing no mask, despite a local government decree mandating them as a way to prevent COVID-19 spread. The leader, a former army captain, also mounted a federal police horse in front of the protesters who were carrying banners attacking the Supreme Court and even calling for military action against it and the Congress. Protesters who took to the streets in Minneapolis for the fifth straight night on Monday met a more determined response from police officers and U.S. National Guard troops as demonstrations escalated in dozens of cities across the country, an outpouring of national anger sparked by the death of a black man in police custody. Soon after an 8 p.m. curfew took effect, the police in Minneapolis began arresting protesters and firing tear gas and other projectiles towards crowds, and the National Guard used a helicopter to dump water on a burning car. The forceful response reflected the desire of the authorities to hold the violent protests that have spread nationwide since Mr. George Floyd, who was 46 years old, died after being pinned down by a white Minneapolis police officer. Tropical storm Amanda, the first named storm of the season in the Pacific, killed at least 14 people as it lashed El Salvador and Guatemala Monday amid flooding and power outages. El Salvador's president declared a state of emergency for 15 days to cope with the effects of the storm, which weakened later in the day as it moved into Guatemala. The fatalities were all recorded in El Salvador, Interior Minister said, warning that the death toll could rise. Sindh Forensic DNA and Serology Laboratory at the University of Karachi has said it will complete the process of identifying bodies of the May 22nd Pakistan International Airlines plane crash victims by Monday. According to a press release from the International Center for Chemical and Biological Sciences at the University of Karachi on Sunday, the Sindh Forensic Laboratory has completed a total of 37 cross-match so far, and the reports have also been dispatched to the Sindh Police Department. Sindh Chief Minister said that of the 97 people who died in the plane crash, 75 had been identified and their bodies handed over to the heirs.